military escort in full uniform strides confidently through the bustling airport terminal. His mission: to bring home the body of a fallen hero. But the airline staff doesn't see the uniform. They see only the color of his skin. When they demand he steps aside, claiming he's not fit to accompany the body, the air thickens with injustice. The tension is palpable as the man stands frozen, the weight of duty and honor pressing on his shoulders. Little do they know, this mistake will cost them far more than they ever anticipated. The airport is a crossroads of travelers, but for one man, it's more than just a place to catch a flight. Sergeant James Miller, a black military veteran, had been tasked with a sacred duty. His orders were clear: escort the body of his fallen comrade, Private Daniel Cole, who had been killed in action. The soldier had been his closest friend, and now, as a mark of respect, James would bring him home. With a solemn expression, he carefully wheeled the flag-draped coffin through the terminal. His heart weighed heavy with the loss, but he held, his head high, knowing that this was his final act of service to a brother who could no longer speak for himself. As he moved through the line, the staff's glances were quick and wary. They questioned his credentials, hesitated at the sight of his uniform, and exchanged looks. Then, without warning, one of the airline agents stepped forward and asked him to step aside. "Sorry, sir, but you can't be the escort. We have to find someone more appropriate." The words hit him like a punch in the gut. A sense of disbelief flooded him. He had followed every protocol, done everything by the book, yet here he stood, the very embodiment of service, facing racial discrimination that he thought was a thing of the past. The scene unfolded with increasing tension. James remained calm, his years of military discipline guiding him through the storm of emotions brewing inside. He tried to explain the situation, but the agent was firm. Her refusal to acknowledge his authority was blatant, and her attitude became increasingly dismissive. Other passengers were starting to notice. Some murmured among themselves, others began to stare. A few took out their phones, documenting the moment. But no one stepped forward. The discrimination was not just against him, but against his fallen comrade. The injustice, the lack of respect. It felt like a slap in the face. "I'm the escort," James repeated, his voice steady but filled with quiet authority. "This is my job, and it's my honor. You have no right to deny me this." But the agent wasn't listening. She stood her ground. James's mind raced with thoughts of the years he had spent in uniform, of his service and sacrifice. He had faced enemies on the battlefield, but this was a battle he wasn't prepared for. His heart sank as more airline staff arrived, surrounding him in a huddle. Their words grew harsher, their condescension more pronounced. He could feel the stares from the people around him, some sympathetic, others indifferent. He thought about the fallen soldier he was supposed to honor, about his family, and about the very fabric of his identity being called into question. The security team was now involved, and they weren't hearing him either. The situation was spiraling out of control. It felt like the world had stopped moving as James stood there, fighting to keep his emotions in check. He could hear murmurs from other passengers now, some defending him, some too afraid to speak up. But all of them were witnesses to the scene unfolding before them. James knew he could walk away. He could choose to leave. But his duty, his responsibility to his fallen friend, would not allow him to back down. In that moment, something snapped inside him, a fire that had been burning silently, fueled by years of pain, injustice, and discrimination. "I'm not going anywhere," he declared, his voice louder now, cutting through the tense silence. "You can keep trying to stop me, but I will not be silenced. I am doing what's right, and you will not take that from me." The room held its breath. A few seconds passed, but it felt like an eternity. And then a shift. One of the passengers, a white man, stood up. He was older, perhaps in his 60s, and had been watching the entire exchange. Without a word, he walked over to the airline staff, his voice low but firm. "I've seen enough," he said. "This man is doing the right thing. You're not going to stop him. If you do, I'm walking out of this airport, and I'll make sure everyone knows why." The ripple effect was immediate. Another passenger joined in, then another. It was no longer just James against the airline. It was a collective stand for what was right. The airline staff faltered, their grip loosening. Slowly, they began to back down. And then, as if the world itself had decided it was time for justice to be served, the supervisor arrived, an African-American woman who had witnessed the entire exchange from the security checkpoint. Her voice was calm, but commanding. "This man is doing his duty," she said. "No one stops him, not today, not ever." The tension that had gripped the airport evaporated as quickly as it had arrived. James, still shaken but resolute, pushed the coffin to the gate, where it was carefully loaded onto the plane. Passengers who had been silent moments before now approached him, some offering their apologies, others expressing their admiration. It was a powerful moment of solidarity, one that spoke to the core of what it meant to fight for what's right. As the plane took off, James reflected on the events that had transpired. This wasn't just about one man, one military escort. It was about the broader fight against the insidious nature of racism that still lurked in the most unexpected places. It was about proving that standing up, even in the face of adversity, could change the tide. The story spread far beyond the airport. That day, it became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that the fight for justice never ends and that sometimes the hardest battles are fought not on the front lines of war, but in the most unexpected corners of life. But James knew that his journey wasn't over. For the fallen soldiers, for the ones who had fought and died, this was just one small part of the battle. The true victory would come when the world could see beyond race and honor all who served, regardless of color. And as the story reached the masses, it sparked a wave of reflection. What can we do to make sure this kind of injustice never happens again? If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with others to spread the message. Together, we can make a difference.